Let me remove myself. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the live webinar session of on supply chain talks. Today, the session is about the biggest global crisis that the supply chain industry and overall the global economy is facing, which is the availability or the non-availability of the shipping containers to move our cargo from one end to the other end. Um, in this session, I am honored to have been joined by Mr. Raheel Monis, who is joining us from Pakistan. He is the head of commercial for Pakistan International Container Terminal. Then we are joined by Mohammad Ali Shahrouri, who is the country head for BDP International for Saudi and Bahrain. Mr. Karim Omran, who is the commercial director for Red Sea Gateway Terminal here in Jeddah, Saudi, and Mr. Wajeeh Ahmed, who is the Chief Commercial Officer for Maersk for Pakistan and Afghanistan. So welcome, everyone. I would like if you can please introduce yourself in more detail for our audience. That would be very nice for us. So please, I would appreciate Raheel, if you may start off, please. Raheel, you having a connectivity issue. I will then. Your voice is breaking. Mohammed, if you may, please. In the meantime.
Yes, sure. Assalamu alaikum, Naaman, and the rest of my colleagues. My name is Mohammad Ali Shahrouri. As mentioned by you, I'm the country head for BBC in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. Before that, I have managed a couple of other positions with different container shipping liners in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Iraq. I have been in this wonderful industry since 2006, and I'm looking forward for our positive and fruitful discussion on this webinar. Back to you now.
Inshallah, most welcome. We are Mohammed. I would just request you if you can then hold the mic later when you are talking, because your voice is breaking otherwise. Karim, over to you, my friend, please.
Thank you, Rahman, and thank you for the invite, and to fellow panelists, thank you very much. My name is Karim Omran. I'm the commercial director at Red Sea Gateway here in Jeddah. I've been here for 4+ years. Before that, I was in Egypt with APM terminals in Port Said for 12 years more. So I've always been on the land side of the supply chain on the ports. So I watch what the shipping lines do with interest from a customer perspective, but it's been mostly on the land side. So thank you, and off to you now.
Great pleasure. Raheel, should we give a shot again? I hope your connectivity is better. Raheel, over to you, please. No, Raheel, your voice is still breaking. We are having issues. No worries. Raheel, I would request you if you can disconnect and join again. Maybe that would solve the problem. Fine, please. Wajeeh, over to you, please.
Hello, thank you very much, Noman, for scheduling this webinar. My name is Wajeeh Ahmed. I'm based in Pakistan as the head of commercial for Maersk, Pakistan and Afghanistan. So over 20 years of experience in shipping and logistics industry. Based out of Pakistan recently, but before that I was based in UAE and other Middle East locations. So looking forward for this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the introduction. Once Raheel is back, I will then request him again to introduce himself. How we proceed on the webinars is that we try to have panelists from different backgrounds, different industries, or the different aspects of the same industry, and from different geographical locations and backgrounds. So I'm looking forward to this session as well, because we would be having some good insights from our panelists today. And again, for all the participants who have joined in so far, your questions will be taken at the end of the session. So please leave your question in the chat box or in the comment section, and your questions will be answered by our respected panelists at the end of the session. So moving into the session, again, we were having the discussion before we went live about it, that is this, I would like to hear from, let's start off from Mohammed, from you, that what is your own candid opinion on the current crisis? And as we were having an earlier discussion, that is it truly a container shortage which is causing this global crisis, or it's more of, the container not being in the right time or the right place at the right time, that these are stuck somewhere else because of the demand supply mismatch which has happened over the last 1 year due to the COVID lockdowns, due to production going down and everything. So your views on it, please.
Thank you, Nauman. As a matter of fact, as you have mentioned, it's a collection of multiple causes leading to the situation where we are right now. But to be more firm and to be more specific, or to answer your question, personally, I believe it's a matter of container dislocation rather than a container shortage. We have seen that shipping lines are are moving their containers to the trades where it's generating more profit than the other trades. If we are talking about this part of the world, the Red Sea and the Arabian Gulf, to be more specific, we have seen in the last couple of months and last year, we have seen that the shipping lines are actually evacuating the containers from this part of the world to other origins, which has led also to some sort of a suffer to our shippers and our customers in this region.
Thank you. I agree with you. Like my also opinion is that it's more of dislocation rather than shortage, and a lot has gone into it. Again, Wajeeh, you are from a shipping background. You are from Maersk, so I think your input on this. Yes, Karim, if you would like to. Karim, you are muted, I believe.
Yes, Norman. Did I raise my hand? But
yeah, please proceed, please.
Okay. No, it's just there's on the shortage and dislocation. There's yes, the dislocation and the disproportion of where the containers are headed based on supply or demand from certain markets, and also what's going on with the freight and the most profitable areas has been the majority impact. But also the fact is the growth of the container business, or the orders and the supply that's coming online over the last 2 years since COVID has been low demand for the last 2 years for the first time in a very long time. So the shortage, I don't think the shortage is the right description. But there has been also, after COVID, all the shipping lines pulled back significantly on the supply and the order books, which also just doesn't help because the recovery is going to take a little bit of time also.
Correct. Thank you for your input. No, agreed. See, this is what we wanted to hear, what is the true reality behind this crisis. Wajeeh, if you would like to pitch in.
Sure, thank you very much. I think the market situation since 2019 had seen unforeseen events, and which has resulted into the global shortage of containers, leaving a domino effect down the supply chain and disrupting the global trade. When COVID-19 broke out, many countries began implementing countrywide lockdowns, impacting running businesses, production, and trade of goods. So due to this, container was stuck at different locations and empties were unable to be repositioned. So the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a shift in customer spending away from services to goods due to restrictions imposed by national lockdowns, and even the customers are unable to spend their money on in-person services, or consumers dump their disposable income into buying manufactured goods. So the global supply chain spotted back to life. This resulted in the issue of container shortage becoming even more prominent as desirability increased, with many companies being unable to secure containers. Then a shortage of shipping containers emerged, with the shipping rates for certain routes skyrocketed. Congestion developed at international ports that then spread to railroads and inland rail terminals, and the trucking rates also got up, and then chases shortage that was already in place. So the importers experienced delays in receiving key manufacturing components, and also we have seen the exporters faced challenges accessing containers and getting bookings on shipping vessels. So at Maersk, we are working at full capacity with containers that can hold cargo in use, and ships sailing out and helping customers resume their supply chain without disruption.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Wajeeh. Uh, and I think we were discussing earlier, and that Maersk and other shipping lines, that the pressure is on them, and yes, there are benefits as well. That what we have been hearing in the news very recently, that Maersk and other shipping lines, they shall be posting good, solid profits for the last fiscal year. Anyway. Now, moving forward, I think Karim, and for Raheel, this is a more pertinent questions for you when we talk about the incidents, and based on your own previous example, like especially Karim, you are at Red Sea Gateway Terminal, Raheel is at Pakistan International Container Terminal, and your previous example, Karim, of being with the Swiss terminal as well. How has these recent incidents which has happened, if I take a few example, we were discussing about the port congestion itself right now, and the shutdown of the Logjam port in China, and the Suez Canal blockage which happened, that how it has also further contributed to the crisis. And with the recent announcement the day before yesterday of Joe Biden to help release the congestion from the LA port, that it will operate on 24/7. So what are your viewpoints on these things? This is for Raheel, if you would like to take this first, or Raheel, if you can close your video for a while, maybe your connectivity might improve. Yes, still having the same issue. Anyways, Karim, over to you, please.
So on that front, I think with COVID, with so much capacity being taken out as soon as COVID hit, right? All these stumbling blocks did not help the overall supply chain. So just it made things worse as we went, right? Most shipping lines cut their capacities by 15, 20%, sometimes 25%. So the capacity that was out there, they were already cut significantly, right? So, and when you have something like the Suez Canal, or you have one of the big Chinese ports stop, I mean, that recovering from that takes some time. Now, so all these small things were happening and causing congestion in the supply chain, the overall supply chain. And then you have the shift and commodity from like the supply or the demand from the US, and the sucking in of all the equipment over in that trade lane. So the supply chain overall, the global supply chain, I believe, was already very stretched with a lot of these hiccups. They did not help. And then what happened with the freight rates and the prioritization of certain trade routes made the situation a lot worse than it should have been.
Correct. I think we have, thank you, Karim. We have, I think we have Raheel back. Raheel, over to you. I think it is still frozen. You know, a similar situation happened in my last webinar on the Suez Canal issue. One of the participants, again from Pakistan, he was having the same problem of connectivity. And every time I used to bring him online, his screen used to freeze up. So I think the same thing is happening with Raheel right now. We'll move
Noman,
forward.
can I?
Yes,
Noman,
please. You can jump in whenever you would like to, please.
Yeah, what I can share is on some thoughts. So there are some instances which the carriers, cannot control. The Suez Canal situation compounded issues for a supply chain under pressure from the pandemic and surge in buying. So, and when the global supply chains just started recovering from the impending effects of the Suez Canal, so the blockage, the congestion, and the shutdown at China's Yantian port sent the industry into a complete frenzy. So the jam impacted trade in between China and US, and the slowdown at Yantian port exerted a domino effect on global distribution. So the supply chains are pushing several major ports into uh, an even tighter situation than before. So in addition to this, there are many other reasons that have contributed to disruption of global supply chain. The port infrastructure is a critical component of the supply chain linked to shipping, and then trucking is the primary source of container transport, which I mentioned before. That the cargo is unloaded at a port. A shortage of drivers across the country means much of the container volumes sits idle at capacity constraint. And then third is the warehouse capacities and often overlooked component in the supply chain. So the many containers are unloaded at distribution centers, and if there is no available space, it adds to the container circulation problem. So when we see all this, and last but not least, these are unprecedented demand, for consumer goods and supply chain disruptions, which has had trickling effects, leaving the entire supply chain network strained for longer durations. So which the industry is still recovering. The maritime industry is still recovering.
Well,
Thank
Nauman,
you.
if you
Yes,
allow me
Mohammed,
just to
please.
echo and to second what my colleagues has just mentioned, it is more of a series of unfortunate effects or unfortunate events that has impacted the supply chain industry in general. From one side, it's yes, the port congestion is impacting the supply chain in total, but also we cannot hide the fact of or we cannot shy away from the fact that there are also other factors that is playing a major role in what's happening in today's world. Let it be the dislocation of containers, as we has discussed earlier, the port congestions, the blockage or lockdowns in certain countries. So it is more of a collection of many unfortunate events.
Yes. No, correct. I think all of you have echoed the same thing, that it is a bundle of different unprecedented features which happened over the last 1 or 2 years that has basically piled up and has contributed, it has had a compound impact or effect on the global supply chain. And just to talk about, or just to look at one aspect of the supply chain and then link it to the container shortage, it is premature, or it is rather short-sightedness. And we have to look at, as Wajeeh even said, that the unprecedented demand in the consumer segment. Fine. We are talking about that lockdowns reduce the production outputs because there was no demand at that time, and then suddenly when lockdowns, people started coming out of lockdowns, the demand surge, and demand surge beyond the capacities of the infrastructure, global infrastructure available. True. And yes, I have also seen in the last many months that containers are coming in. Containers are sitting idle at the not just support on the customer premises. Offloading issues are there, and the empty container needs to go back for it to be available. Fine. And everybody right now talks about that when we will get the container availability. I've been working with a couple of clients, and for resolving these issues, we are working on a digital solution for freight forwarding with a couple of clients. Anyways, that's a totally different discussion. I will again echo my next question to Mohammed on it, based on the segment of the supply chain that you are from. That, in your opinion, that what would be the at least the short-term solutions, or how can the people in the logistics divisions, on the logisticians, how they can rise up to the occasion of where that short-term solutions are there? We know the long-term solutions, obviously a lot is happening, but short-term, everybody is worried about tomorrow or even today.
Well, I guess, Nauman, this is the $1 million question. That what is the short-term solution to the current challenges that we have? and one of the options that might be considered is the nearshoring or alternative markets, where it is near to the regional hubs instead of counting on global hubs. That might even shorten the route or the transit time between one port to the other, instead of going to a global hub with a certain number of days as a transit time. The regional ones might help and reducing and limiting down the impact of the global shortage. So that might be one of the options. Other options, what we can see from the market or what we can hear from the market, is that the shippers now are exploring other methods of transportation rather than the containerized business. While the containerized business nearly represent 80% of the global trade, but yet there are other also options which are being explored by the shippers and by the customers to overcome where we are right now.
Okay. Karim, your input, if you would like to add to this.
So in Jeddah specifically, right, there's no congestion per se, right? So at least from regional side, there's no congestion in Jeddah because the volumes, at least the gateway volumes, are significantly down versus last year, and that basically because it's two parts to it, right? There is a drop in consumption in the Saudi retail market, but there's also the freight rates are just, or Saudi Arabia and the region has been deprioritized when it comes to the most profitable lanes, which is fine as part of the business. So there's no increase, for example, high increase in the dwell days for imports that we see overall in a holistic manner in Saudi. But definitely, I mean, some of the small things, I mean, like what happened in LA, I mean, for the ports that does have congestions, going for 24 hours, trying to get in some more assets to try to release a little bit of the pressure, stripping more containers in the port and getting the cargo out in different transportation. And definitely some bulk, I mean, similar to what Mohammed saying, using a little bit more bulk options might relieve some of the pressure. But I honestly, until the freight rates are stabilized, I think we will continue to see regional our misproportional distribution of resources and what can go and what cannot go. So.
Good. No, you talked about that. Yes, Jeddah, the situation is better, and I get to see that as well personally. But again, from your perspective, Mohammed, Wajeeh, Raheel, that when we talk about port congestions, what are your point of view in your specific region or the markets that you are looking into?
As far as I'll first talk about the possible short-term solutions for this and the mitigation, how it will help. So COVID-19 pandemic, has had an unprecedented impact, which everyone echoed, and on container shipping and global supply chains. So the congestion, at ports in the US, Europe, and Asia as well, disrupted the sailing schedules and equipment shortages, particularly in exporting countries such as in China and Vietnam, have created significant disruption of containers. So what we have seen is basically accumulated delays due to rapidly increase in demand. COVID-19 control measures, has lowered the productivity and poor schedule reliability, which has caused the containers to remain in transit for longer, reducing the effective number of containers in active circulation. So for many companies, nearshoring may mean moving a supplier from China to other countries, which may not happen overnight, and will require a huge amount of investment and changing planned dynamics of supply chain. So while the suitability of nearshoring is highly specific to an individual company and its products, there is one initial and a reliable filter employed towards determining whether such a strategic decision holds further exploration labor component. content, or specifically whether companies' products and its value-added capabilities rely on a greater proportion of manual labor versus automation. So in the production of its goods. So with nearshoring, there will be added logistical challenges involved, like physical establishment of buildings, processes, people, and technology. Cost of moving, including movers, replacing broken items, and prepping the new space, and also the transition cost, including possible downtime and supply interruption during the move, and also logistics of establishing new shipping lanes and distribution channels from the new supplier. And last but not least, the possible investment tax credits offered by the jurisdiction of the new supplier. So it all depends on the regional consumption potential and the market size opportunity aside Asia-based operation and supply-based expansions. So we have seen there is a rise early on due to strong connection with abundant labor supply, low wage rates, and also increasingly greater production capability. So irrespective of geopolitical or socio-economics shifts and their effects, we will have this solution to go. It will take a bit of time, and it is a process which will take us through the entire journey. So this is a few solutions from my side. Yeah.
Well,
Thanks.
if you allow me, Nauman, to comment on here. Yes, the concept of nearshoring might not be the easiest solution, but also creating alternative markets, because on certain commodities, the switching cost from one country of origin to the other is not the same as on other commodities. So yes, it might not be a one size fits all solution for the supply chain or for the global supply chain. However, it might be a solution for the regional options, which might help to reduce the impact on the regions rather than on a global scale.
Yeah, thank you.
Plus to add on what Karim has mentioned, if you allow me, Mr. Karim, to echo and to second what he has mentioned, we can see also ripple effect when it comes to the global situation. So the blockage of Suez Canal had an impact of 6 to 9 months after the blockage took place. So it's more of as mentioned by Karim, it's more of a collection or a bundle of situation or events rather than focusing on one event by itself.
Exactly. You're right that right now the global supply chain is a patient that we are trying to fix one problem and a new problem is popping up. Fine. So it's adding up to the pain of the whole global economy right now. It is adding up to it. So again, coming back, I was looking at a question. I'll show you that because this basically echoes with the next point I wanted to discuss, and it talks about the availability of shipping lines and the container shortage and everything. Right now, unprecedented amount of orders they have been. It's more of a comment. And I will echo my next point on it. That unprecedented amount of orders have been placed in for both shipping lines. If I was reading correctly, I think this year alone 276 shipping line orders, for new carriers have been put in. And right now, I believe total of it was more than 5.4 million TEUs. That is the containers that have been. This is record-breaking numbers. And but my perspective on this is that, again, my question, being a student of supply chain and talking a lot about the bullwhip effect and everything, that is this all a knee-jerk reaction, and when things will settle down in the coming months, or I don't see months, but at least somewhere around the mid of next year probably, that what will happen to this excess? Would this capacity be true capacity, or is this excess capacity that will come out? What will happen? What is your take on this? Anyone who would like to Raheel, should we try again? Or Wajeeh?
Yeah, Noman, I think today's world is operating on creating customer convenience, where the businesses have made, the shopping easier for the consumers. So the e-commerce increased expectations for customers and ushering in a new era of shipping trends. So the shipping speed is also very important to facilitate the rising demand and the customer orders. The global shipyards that were retrenching and consolidating, in a faltering maritime market, barely, it has more than a year ago, or now, you can say now flush with new orders, boosted by efforts which you mentioned by the shipping lines to add the capacity to meet the surgent consumer demand. The global supply chains have been a great engine of economic growth. So what indeed the essential to the performance of the world economy right now, they are now strained in a way that has never happened before. So the limited resources and capacity have extended the delivery times to levels unsurpassed in 20 years of data availability. So many companies have slowed down their production of goods because of the materials not being delivered, and increase operation cost and unable to meet the consumer demand. What my other colleagues have just mentioned. What Maersk has taken measures is is to elevate this by rationalizing our schedules and repositioning the supply of containers, and we have tripled the number of dry freight containers in our fleet during the last few months to support our customers' export requirements. So, however, in fleeting of new containers alone is no longer sufficient to meet the overall demand. So, it remains critically important that import containers are turned around as quickly as possible. So, in addition to this, Maersk is assisting customers manage their supply chain by providing integrated supply chain solutions, which provide visibility of the cargo imported and exported, and helps them study buying patterns and also to prepare more resilient supply chain. So that has given us an agile perspective to get the things done. So it is expected that the situation will improve. Bottlenecks are expected to be relieved. Buying pattern likely to normalize. The system will ultimately adjust, but it will take time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Wajeeh.
No, man.
Yes, Karim.
Just on that point with the order books, if I may. So from a spectator's point of view, watching what the shipping lines have been doing over the last 20 years, they got better, but they always have this tendency. As soon as things are good, they order a lot of capacity, right? Over the last few years, they've been better in managing the demand supply thing. They haven't went overboard, but I think also because there are less players in the market, right, compared to before. So it's easier to not to go way overboard. The current situation, and honestly, it's just not about a knee-jerk reaction. I think they're also flush with cash. They have to do something with it. Ordering ships is part of that. But overall, we'll get in the same cycle where they will just have to slow down a little bit when the freight rates start going down again.
Thanks, Karim. How about you, Mohammed, from your perspective, even how your organization, how they are working? What is your perspective about this? That all this, new demand coming in for the equipment or the assets for the shipping industry, would it be sustainable, or will we end up with excess assets in the coming years?
Absolutely, Nauman. Just to second what Karim has mentioned and to echo his comments, we need to assess the global demand versus the increase versus the number of new vessels and new containers to be deployed on a global scale. Yes, it might help the situation for the interim, but for the long run, it will be a question to the shipping lines whether they can sustain the same levels of supply in the market, because pumping in more vessels or enlarging the vessels and pumping in new containers will fix the situation for now. But what about in the next 3 or 5 years? Will the global demand be in line with the increase of capacity, or will we go back to where it used to be before 2019 or before the pandemic started? So it's more of a shipping line strategic decisions, how they are going to react to the current market conditions. If I'm to make a decision, or if I make comment, I guess it is the decision of increasing the capacity or increasing the fleet of containers is for the short term, and it will worsen the situation in the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay. No, thanks. And I think this basically helps me move on to my next topic as well, that, a lot of other macro or other parameters which are now changing as well, new legislations, not just new legislations. How about the fuel prices now again going towards the $100 mark? Now it is, proceeding towards that. A little while back, it was 70. Now I believe today it is around 85 plus, if I'm not mistaken. So again, these factors, a talk about or a push towards, having your carbon emissions reduced, and how to have, cleaner fuel usage. These parameters, these are all, they will impact the cost. And the $1 million question, which is coming up with everybody around that, how the cost has gone up. Right now, a client of mine, they booked around 6 containers coming from Jakarta to Jeddah. Fine. And in less than 24 hours, the rate per container, it shot up from 5,100 to 8,300 per container. Fine. So everybody is talking about when will this go back to normalization and everything. And from my perspective,
you found the container now, man.
Yes. No. We are still short by 8 containers, by the way. The total demand was higher. We were only able to find 6 containers right now. 8 containers, we are still looking for them. So the point is that, there are a lot of external environmental factors which are now plugging in, and the cost is going up. So my question to you, everyone, the panelists, would be that will these prices come down in the future, or are we about to experience, like everything else, when we talk about the new normal, the prices will also be, there will be a new normal to the global container shipping prices? So anyone can take this question. It's an open question right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm
Yes,
sorry
Raheel.
for the interruption. The whole
No. We welcome you back. I think your screen still again got stuck, Raheel. Yeah, Raheel, your voice is not audible at all. So again, Karim or Mohammed or Wajeeh, if you would like to take this question about the new normal on the prices, the overall logistics scenario.
If I may, just Mohammed Raheel, Wajeeh, if I may. So on that point, I think with so much on the order books, depending, of course, how much is being is going to be still coming online over the next few years, it will stabilize a little bit, right? So again, I mean, it goes back to when we're talking about instability, vessels are not arriving on time, schedule reliability, all these things that's going on with the congestion in the US, all these things will eventually slow down, right? And things will stabilize a little bit. So part of the congestion, or part of what caused the congestion or the shortage will slow down or will reduce. So I expect the freight rates also will go down with that. putting on top some of the extra capacity. How much will go down will depend on how the shipping lines are going to handle this capacity and how much they're going to continue to order additional capacity, I think. But it is currently, when you're talking about Jakarta, I mean, one of the issues that's going on in Jeddah right now is you see a lot of importers. It's cheaper for them to bring a container somewhere else, like Dammam, and truck it, than to bring it to Jeddah. And the other way around, right? If it's coming from Europe, just drop it at Jeddah and truck it, than to go all the way to Dammam, depending, of course, on the slots and the availability. So, yeah, so I've seen that, and the MAM market share has went up in KSA. I mean, of course, there's a limit to how many trucks you can put on the road, but still, it is that painful, right? They just can't find the slots. So that is not a sustainable situation for a long time, I don't think.
There's a flip side to it as well, Karim, on this comment, because, this comment very well echoed with what you were saying. There's another flip side. I was having a discussion around a week back, fine, with one of the companies over here who have their central distribution center in Dubai. And, by default, my understanding would have been or was that they are moving all their demands through road to Saudi Arabia, through their central. But the interesting part was that, they are still preferring to use it to move it from Jebel Ali to the Dammam and then bring it in, because that is much comparatively cheaper, and the handling is much quicker and easier compared to bringing it through the because of the delays and the other operational issues that they are facing. Again, there might be many solutions. There might be different permutations and combinations of how things move about. But yes, agree with you. And again, my 2 cents over here, and Mohammed, from your side as well, because you are connected to a lot. You are the bridge between the supply and demand as well.
Absolutely.
My personal opinion is that the prices will not go back to the old ones, which were like $1,500 to move from China to Jeddah, or $2,000. It might not go back. We have to adapt to the new normal, because now we have seen the capacity of units on the demand side to sustain this cost as well. So again, as we say that, the industry have tasted blood now. So would they go back to the old prices or not? So that is my view. It will not go back. We might be at a median range or somewhere in between, but we will not see the old days, and we will still reminiscence about the good pricing. Mohammed, your input, please.
Well, thank you, Rahman. Being the or understanding the new normal is what we need, or realization of the new normal is what we need to have in mind. As mentioned by you, it might not be possible to go back to the pre-2019 rate levels. However, the question of what freight levels will be after the situation settles down, this is more of a shipping line decision, or more of a shipping line strategy. But to go back, if you allow me to go back to giving an example of Dammam versus Jeddah, this is a live example of finding an alternate route or finding an alternate markets. What we see currently in the market is that the market or the customers are more into supply driven rather than freight rate driven. Whatever, as mentioned by Karim, that you were lucky to obtain 6 out of 14 or 6 out of 8 containers, because you are lucky, and you know that very well. So it's more of a matter of whether Dammam or Jeddah or whatever the port of discharge serves the customer at a freight rate level that will make sure containers are placed in their warehouses on time. So I guess it's more of a change of the mindset of being a market that is driven by freight rate to a market driven by supply and demand, which is the normal macroeconomics equation.
No, correct. And let me share a little bit of, again, regarding the container availability. I think when we talk about the new normal, we need to understand another part of it, that now connectivity of your demand and supply, the digitization of the operation is a must. And how would I put it? The client, they are one of the clients in Saudi Arabia that we have transformed them to digital logistics. Fine. I will not go into the details of it, but what has happened for them is that now, instead of being connected to, their standard freight forwarding companies or their from where they were getting the containers, now suddenly with this digital marketplace that we have exposed them to, they are now connected to 180 freight forwarding companies on a global level. Fine. So what happens is that when they go to the marketplace and they request containers, it is not just 4 or 5 companies or their standard companies who are working for them. Suddenly, their demand goes global. So the last one that we closed for them, this 6th India, a company, and this is what I talk about globalization and the impact of digitalization. That a Jeddah-based company moving their cargo from Jakarta to Saudi. The freight was handled by a freight forwarding company sitting in Karachi, in Pakistan. Just imagine 3 different aspects of it were connected, and now with ports coming online and even shipping lines, they are going digital and they are providing the right connectivity. So I believe that is the new normal that we are now living in, and we have to embrace it. That the digital part of it is a big reality now. The connectivity is a big reality. Wajeeh, would you like to contribute? Because then, from that perspective, overall, our discussion, and it's unfortunate that Raheel connectivity has been down, and we could not get an input from him, unfortunately. So we will move to the questions that have come so far. So, Wajeeh, if you would like to add on to it.
Yeah, I think I agree on most of the panelists and the experts have shared. And I think the new normal will be, it will be difficult to, of course, go back to the same, but it depends on the situation.
Your voice went off. Wajeeh, we can't hear you. Can't hear you, Wajeeh. If you can try again. Anyways, so no problem. How about we again? This comes an end to the questions or the topics that I wanted to discuss with you. Now we have a lot of questions which have come in from the participants, and they have come in from both the platforms, it is being streamed live right now on YouTube and LinkedIn as well. And to be honest, for me, this is my first session which is being streamed live on LinkedIn. So I have a question from one Ms. Sania Irfan. It's a good question. How long are we seeing the crisis to last, and which particular routes will be impacted? I'll give you an input on this. I was having a discussion around 2 or 3 weeks back with Raheel when we were talking about this thing, and Raheel was of the opinion that probably we'll see this in the good part of 2022 as well. This is not something that might get over by Christmas time or when we come into the new year, because we need to understand that as soon as January comes in and February, we are about to face Christmas timing, the shutdowns happening around Christmas, and then the shutdown happening from the biggest market, which is China. The Chinese New Year will be coming in. So again, you have 2 major events coming up in the next couple of months, which will impact again the global availability or the global logistics. So that is my input. Mohammed, I see that you would like to, from your perspective.
Yes, it's completely correct, Nouman. There are other factors, as you have mentioned, the fact of we are coming by the seasonal or the season of New Year, as well as the Christmas, which will lead to closure in certain countries. And then on the eastern part of the world, the Chinese New Year, which is also every year contributes to a slowdown in the production. From the feedback and from our continuous meetings with our vendors and with our partners in the shipping line industry, the feedback is that we shouldn't expect things to get back to normal after or before any time before second half of 2022. That's of course the most optimistic view on this part. From my side, I guess also I'm in line with what you have mentioned. It would be maybe Q3, Q4 next year where we can see the market stabilizes and the situation is getting back to the normal trend.
Believe me, Mohammed, I wish that both of us are proven wrong about this. Wallahi, seriously, I wish. But, the ground reality is, and this is how, what can be seen. So again, I am hoping against hope again that both of us are proven wrong on this, that a miracle happens and, things go back to at least a little bit of sanity comes to the global logistics now, because sanity has gone out of it right now. True. Yes, Karim.
Yeah, so just to, if you don't mind, just to play devil's advocate in here, right, a little bit. In my opinion, this is very good for logistics, or for the total supply chain at least, to take a look at this, right? I mean, we've been squeezing the supply chain costs for so many years that it has been cutthroat. Thin margins. For all the players, right? Maybe the ports not as much usually, but for the rest of the players, it's been very, very competitive with low return kind of business, right? I am not too scared or too worried about the high freight rates as much. I'm concerned more about the lack of enough supply of slots and for the trade to grow, right? Because it eventually impact all these countries. So the high freight rate itself is not a concern, I wouldn't think, as much, because again, at the end of the day, the total supply chain, the total cost of most products is 2 to 3%, right? It's not that huge. So I think but just to go back to what you said, Mohammed said, at least based on the feedback we're getting from the shipping lines or our customers, right, and some of the big freight forwarders, and also we've been talking to people like Shahrouri and others, right, just to try to get a sense more about what's going on. Second half seems to be best case scenario for most of them. They think it might last a little bit longer. And again, it's not the high freight rate, it's the misbalance between supply and demand that's more concerning, I think, for most.
Okay. Yani, just to sorry, Nouman, and just to second or to echo Karim's point, if we allow the market to adjust itself from a supply-demand perspective, then definitely the freight rates will be stabilized without involvement or without a push from any external party. So it's not a matter of freight rate levels rather than a total disruption on the supply chain or global supply chain industry. That's where our microscope and that's where our focus should be rather than on the freight rates.
Freight rates. Raheel just messaged me because he's unable to, because of connectivity. He has given a different, a more devastating kind of a prediction that from his perspective, it can easily be into 3 years. And what he just messaged me was that, it's not just about the availability of containers, but across the globe, what we have seen is that it might not be true for this region. Maybe the port operations or the congestion is good, or the congestion is not there. But the terminal operations where we are seeing congestions in Europe and in the US, the terminal operations need to improve because that is having a ripple effect globally right now. And not just that, one more thing that, again, as we all have mentioned again and again on the demand side of it, that the demand has reduced comparatively. Still the demand is coming from China, or the shipments or the goods are coming still from China, and the return of empty containers, again, it's a cost from the US, which are stuck over there, bringing them back to the origin. It's a cost. Like when we talk about trucking, we try to optimize our trucking, and the container is from the same logic, that at the end of the day we have to pay not just for the one way, but we are paying for the two-way transportation, or taking back the container as well. So the cost is there. So again, what the lady has asked, that the crisis to last, it will take time. And a lot of questions have come in when they are talking about the rationalization of the prices. Again, I think we have talked a great deal about that point, that the prices might not go down to the old pre-COVID scenario, but a new standard or new range would be defined in the coming months again, that it might settle down, but the prices won't be as low as 2019 and earlier. I will take another question, and this is an interesting one. It's from, again, it's a very difficult name to pronounce for me, to be honest. So I will not, even try. Something. What would you think might be any future alternative to standard containers? Any thought on alternate eco-friendly transport handling units? Wajeeh, would you like to take a shot at this one? Wajeeh is smiling.
I think, Noman, I will, before going to this question, I will just add on the previous discussion that how Pakistani ports have ensured business continuity, and they have elevated the pandemic impact on the maritime sector overall. And regardless of the 25% impressive growth owing to rise in imports and exports, so we have seen Pakistan trade remain progressive with an initiative of imposing smart lockdowns and keeping logistics moving. And all ports in Pakistan has been really performing at the optimum levels. So what Maersk expects strong export demand from Asia to continue for the rest of the year, particularly what you mentioned, that due to several upcoming holidays coming in, including China's Golden Week, Christmas, and Diwali festival, this will definitely create seasonal volume rushes. And what we have done at Maersk is Maersk vessel schedules continue to be affected and by the port delays, and we find it necessary, to really change some port rotations to reduce the total delays phase. So both the equipment and vessel schedule actions are specifically intended to improve reliability. That is one of the targets. And we as continuously in contact with our customers. So that is very, very important to understand that our customers, what their thoughts are, and what they are advising us to plan their supply chains well ahead. So we are advising them that particularly for the upcoming holiday rush. And to your question on I think there was a question which was appearing before. Can you just put it again, and I'll try to.
Okay, I will show that.
Yeah, is there long-term
no, this was a
outlook?
question. Sorry, this was a question.
What would you think might be any future alternative to standard containers? Yeah, I think I saw some comment coming up, like moving trucks from Pakistan to Central Asia. So that is also one of the options which we have seen a while ago. So there are various options available, and that can also be an eco-friendly solution for that.
Okay. Moving forward, I think there's an interesting question, that is, what is the easiest way to find containers? Mohammed, is there any easy way to find a container right now?
Pay more.
Yes.
That's the easiest.
Right
That's
now,
the
it's
easiest way
literally
to
like
find.
eBay. You put in what you are willing to pay. If you're willing to pay, then the others, you will get the containers. Literally, this is what is happening.
Absolutely.
It is
That's the easiest and the shortest
Fine.
answer to this question.
Find some old containers in the market, buy them, and just use your own containers for a while. You'll probably find the slots, so you'll not find the containers.
Even you can find the containers, but now shipping lines will not allow you to use SOCs because they want to
Exactly.
utilize their own fleet.
Exactly.
So,
And what is happening is that, again, I will not name the organization. A very recent incident happened over here. It was related on King Abdullah Port. Fine. So over there, again, the organizations now, they are being pushed to make spot decisions. It's not about spot rates. Like, the rates come that this is the rate. Would you like to take these containers at this rate? If they even delay, the containers are not available in the next hours or so, even because they are booked, they are picked up by the others. So again, as I said that, and as what you said as well, that right now what is happening is literally that the containers are on eBay right now, that people are just trying to buy at the highest price. Whoever offers the highest price, they will get the containers now. So, but Uzair, again, if you are listening in, you can connect with me offline as well, and I will share with you the digital solutions that I was talking earlier. But I will not talk about it over here. Again, this is okay. This is interesting. This is from Zafar Aslam. I know him as well. I've never met him, but we have been communicating over due to COVID. A lot of connectivity has happened over the last year. He's a gentleman right now in the UK. He again, we have seen what is happening in the UK as well. Fine in over there. So, is the shortage of container road hauliers and drivers due to COVID-related disruption also a significant impact like it is in Europe? My take before anybody would like to take on it, I think what is happening in the UK right now is the shortage of drivers when it talks about, even especially on the fuel part and the other consumer goods as well. And I think it has a lot to do with the Brexit issue as well, that now the drivers are not available because all the drivers were mainly non-UK based or different nationalities. And what I was reading that UK government is planning to issue part-time, not part-time visa, but temporary visas, work visas for these drivers to operate within the boundaries of the UK. So that is my take on it. If someone has a better insight on this question, please.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Noman. It's a Brexit issue and the driver shortage and uh, these hauliers are just stranded outside the ports, which has
Mm.
resulted into congestion and the containers are unable to offload from the ships. So the situation is, and of course, if you do reverse logistics in that sense, the ships are unable to berth as well because the containers are not offloaded from the ships which are already berthed.
Mm.
So this situation has even happened in Felixstowe port, and many of the ports are getting congested in UK due to this reason. So this will I don't know till when this will continue in UK, but the
Mm.
situation is really grave.
Very fair. Uh, Moving forward, this is an interesting comment, which says that it's the same as it happened in 2009 with cotton prices. Retail prices of clothes went up. However, when the cotton prices normalized to a lower level, clothing retail never came down. So I think this is what is going to eventually. This is the new normal in every industry, that fuel prices go up, uh, complementary services and everything go up, but once the fuel prices go down, as I said, that once someone tastes blood, you can never leave that taste. So that will happen. There is, I think this one. This one is again. This is a interesting thing that I would like to hear from you, Karim, on this one. And I've been having this discussion. The big ships are the big vessels the answer to our questions of in the future moving how we will be moving our cargo. We have already experienced what happened in Suez, and bigger and bigger ships will be coming for international routes and all that. Is this the answer?
Well, the shipping line seems to think so, right? So right now the order book is 20+% of the current capacity, right? And 40%, I think, or 38% of that is 13,000 plus TEU vessels. So for the foreseeable future, it seems the shipping lines still think going big is the way to go. And they keep on squeezing, and we're now at 24 plus thousand. We'll hit probably the 26,000 within the next few years. So at least for now, that trend seems to be going, right? They don't want to go higher, like longer than 400 meters, but they're trying to squeeze and redesign the setup and go a little bit wider, see what they can squeeze. But it wouldn't really solve the problem, because the problem is not the number of ships, right? They're just rerouting them, right? So, and again, we've seen that at least in Jeddah side, right? They need the ships in the most profitable lanes. So even the services are just skipping, right? There's a lot of blank sailings, because they take the ships from less profitable lanes to the more profitable lanes and put the ships there. So to answer the question, I don't think it's the bigger ship will solve the issue. But to answer your about if this is the answer, well, it's the situation we are stuck with for the foreseeable future, I think.
Okay. Fine.
If I may comment on this one, Nouman,
Please,
because,
please.
Yes,
please.
I totally agree with Karim on this one. It might help on the global trades from the north-south trade or from east-west trade. But for instance, on regional trades, even the certain port of discharges cannot receive mega ships due to draft issues, due to window issues, due to multiple reasons. So yes, it might be helpful for certain trades, but on a global scale, I don't think that it will solve the issue.
Okay, thank you. We are now coming to the end of our session. I have just one last one. This is from Miss Nadia again. This is about, I was reading about this just yesterday as well, that as per news, Coca-Cola has started importing raw materials in bulk ship. Do you think that will companies move to bulk shipping rather than containerized shipping? And again, Coca-Cola, to solve their global, availability issues, they have tried this new, and till I believe that it is working for them right now. And a lot of organizations, they are now looking into this mode as well. So what are your opinions? Anyone? Wajeeh,
Yeah.
Karim, Mohammed?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this question that someone will definitely raise this point about the giant ships, the bulk ships. What will happen if they order bulk ships? Okay, so where they will berth, first point, because of the congestion, there is no place to berth on the ports. The situation will remain same, right? So what Mohammed and Karim mentioned about the container availability and the how to manage the ships, that is very, very important. This will not have a long-term solution unless this rerouting and the reliability of schedules, and we really need to find out that how to resolve this situation at the ports. So there is no way we can see that through bulk ships this situation will resolve anytime in the future.
Okay.
On that same front is, I think, I don't want to say, I think it was IKEA, maybe, and Walmart. Like some of these big retailers are also doing their own thing right now, right? but again, I think what Wajeeh is saying, I just don't think it's a long-term solution. They're just, somebody was told, fine, do something. So they're doing something, right? I'm not sure if that's gonna solve the problem or not. So some action sometimes is better than inaction. Doesn't mean that it's gonna be the right solution to them.
Correct. I think no. I agree with you. That see, point is the situation is so grave and bad right now that globally for many industries and many companies, the production schedules are being affected. That even if you try to build up stock of raw materials or even finished goods, that is not helping, because when you will get the next container, when you will get the space on the shipping line, or what is the schedule of it, that is so uncertain right now that you don't know what is the safety stock levels that you need to keep as a supply chain, as a planner, as a supply chain professional. And that
not
is
everybody can do bulk also, no.
Yes,
I mean, not
exactly.
everybody can do bulk. Some of them, they have to have a container, right? Not everybody's Coca-Cola. I mean,
Yes. No, so true. It's not even that. A lot of raw materials, a lot of materials still come, less than container load. LCL shipments is still, a true reality that is there. Again, we have just one last one. I think this is a big one. Thanks, Numan and guest speakers for their answers. By the way, if anyone is having a container shortage, they can. Okay. So this is more of a marketing thing. So I will remove that. Fine. I will remove that. So, anyways, I think to conclude, I was very fortunate today that I had all of you here for this session, and it was definitely a very, very interesting talk. I learned a lot, and that is the whole aspect of it. That we talk about supply chain, we talk about logistics, and we share our experience. In conclusion, what I have so far gathered from all of us talking about it is that the time frame or the future of this issue or this crisis is something simply like COVID, that it is here to stay. This is not going anywhere, but we will learn to live with it and we will find a work around it. This will happen. The outlook is that, as Mohammad, Karim, everyone said, that at least it's not going to get resolved at least in the next 12 months minimum. And it might go, as Raheel was putting it, that it might even go further into 2020, 2024, even this. And the new normal, we all talked about it, that the prices might get rationalized, but they will not go back to the pre-COVID or the pre-2019 levels. They will be higher than before, because, again, now there is an understanding, as Karim very rightly pointed out, that the freight cost or this logistics cost is probably, when we are talking about large shipments, probably in the range of 2 to 3% of your whole, consignment value. So when we talk about an increase of from 100% increase or even 500% increase in the freight volume, that 2%, that increases on 2% only. So when we look at the maths of it, it is not really contributing such a high number to your product value or to the the costs of everything. So that is there to remain. There is more containers are coming in, more shipping have been ordered, but then again the ship, it takes it takes I think, Wajeeh, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it does take for one ship to be completed manufacturing at least more than 2 years, right? If I'm not mistaken. Correct. So my
Yeah,
estimate is right. So whatever orders have been
maybe
put
more.
in,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe more. So whatever orders have been put in for the new shipping to to remove the congestion, that would still remain. So these were the salient points that we gathered today out of our discussion. Again, thank you very much. If anyone would like to make a closing remark, please feel welcome. That is it from my side. So thank you.
Thank you, Nauman, Karim, and Wajeeh, and Raheel.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you very much.
My
Same here.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.